After 5 hours of sleep, I'm proud to say, welcome to Speed Center.
And I think Tony Stewart respects the fact that he knows that Justin Ashley's right alongside. We know what happened to Doug Coletta the last time somebody was next to Justin Ashley.
They pile up into the afternoon. Ashley's got cylinders out. Explosion for Salinas. Explosion for Brown. It's Tony Stewart. Stewart wins in a totally chaotic final. 387 to 317. He's broken through. Tony Stewart's passion for the sport of NHRA drag racing is something that is truly undeniable. At this track, about a year and a half ago, or 2 years ago, you got your first walleye behind the wheel of an alcohol dragster. It's almost fitting that the big one comes today here in Vegas. Tony, the struggles you've had, over the last year and a half have almost made this even sweeter. What's the emotion you're feeling right now?
I think you sure as hell learn to appreciate it more when you struggle like that. But, man, I'm so appreciative of our guys. And like I said, we got Kevin Rudine and his family here. Race, you did this one for us today, buddy. This is all you. But it's the highest of highs and lowest of lows. Our Rush Truck Center's family, Rusty Rush, we lost his wife, Jenny, this week. And then literally 15 minutes before we rolled out for the final here, I got a message from Bakersfield, California, from a friend of mine, Brian Landgraf, and we just lost his father. So, I heard Dallas Glenn talking about it too. We've lost a lot of people this week, and it's been tough, but my God, I am so proud of our guys. Dodge, Direct Connection, Race Routine Foundation, Renai, everybody at Mobile 1J, thank you so much. Just so many great partners here. I got a great teammate standing there. I have a feeling I'm going to be really hurting in the morning here, but it's going to sure as hell be worth it.
Congratulations, Tony.
Thank you.
All right, joining us here in the Media Center at the Strip at Las Vegas Motor Speedway is your top fuel winner of the 25th Annual NHRA 4-Wide Nationals, Tony Stewart, who went 3.870 at 317 miles an hour to pick up his first career NHRA top fuel win, winning on a hole shot the first two quads, defeated Antron Brown in the final round. You've won it everything here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and now you get a top fuel victory here. Talk us through a lot of emotions there on the top end in the winner's circle. Just talk about how exciting this is for you in this moment for you.
It's unreal. I mean, it's I told somebody, I said I haven't been around NHRA that long. I mean, obviously about 5 years, honestly, and I realize it takes a lot, and it takes a long time to win a race in this series. But everything in my career, I never had to wait over a year to win a race. I always figured it out in the first year, and multiple wins normally. But just very appreciative. And today, like you said, 2 hole shots in the first 2 rounds, and my worst light of the weekend came in the final, unfortunately. But that's where Neil Straussbaugh and Mike Domagala, they got us that win in the final. So very appreciative. I think we all needed it. It's been so stressful the whole year after Leah, almost won a world championship, 2 years ago. To sit there and get in the car last year, and people in the stands don't realize it. They think I'm the reason the car sucks, and and it wasn't that we had bad people tuning on it. Just it was a different combination. There were different variables that changed. My body weight's different. Tubing changes from rule changes a year ago, which everybody had it, so it wasn't like it was something just special for us. But just really frustrating. We could not get on a path to where we could make gains last year. Just super frustrating. It was like we were a ping pong ball. We were either going out and shaking the tires because it was weak, or frying the tires on the hit, and couldn't do the same thing twice. And I don't have the experience to be able to help these guys, and never will, honestly. I mean, that's why these guys, the crew chiefs, make more than the drivers do in NHRA, and it's because they're the biggest variable in the equation. But to sit there and think right now, 2 years ago we were doing this and won our first NHRA race at a 4-wide with that top alcohol dragster, and 2 years later come back here and win it with the top fuel car is pretty damn cool. So, and for me personally, I mean, I'll be honest, I've been a motorsports fan my entire life, and I feel like what we did today is history making in motorsports as a whole. I mean, I don't think there's ever been a driver to win an IndyCar race, a NASCAR race, a Triple Crown, and win an NHRA top fuel race. So, to do this and do it with our own team and our family, and I think probably the one thing that may not sink in as much right now, but it's already starting to, is when when Leah brought Dom up on the stage there when we were doing the interview after that, that's an emotion that you can't even think about or dream of. And when I saw her coming up those steps with him, my heart stopped. It's like, as much as I love winning this race for our team and for myself and for our family, seeing her bring him up there, that was a feeling I've never had in my life before. And I have a feeling when we lay down and put my head on a pillow tonight, that's going to be the one thing that I'm going to reflect on the most tonight.
Bobby Bennett, Competition Plus. By your own words that you said out there, who knew that all it took was a drag racing format that mimicked midget racing for you to get your first win?
Yeah, I mean, I just remember when I came here the first time with Leah, and she was talking about how a lot of the drivers don't like this format, and just because it's different, it's non-traditional. And I kind of looked at that, especially when I ran the alcohol car, and then last year with the top fuel car for the first time. This is an equalizer, I feel like, because there's drivers that are out of their comfort zone. They're used to 2 lanes and one other opponent. Now they got 3 opponents. They got 4 bulbs to look at on there. To me, that's an equalizer, because I embraced it. I loved it, because I felt like now that brings them back a little bit, because they're uncomfortable, and I'm used to stuff like this. It's when you're not used to a pattern and you're not used to a rhythm, you're creating that. And so for those guys to have to get out of their comfort zone and do something different a couple times a year, and for me to not even have a comfort zone yet, it equalizes the field, I feel like. So I love them. 2 years ago when we won here, I mean, I was a big fan of it. We went to Charlotte a week later, runner up to Mike Coughlin, my teammate, by 2 inches, I think, at the line, and I just like the format of it. It's more accustomed to what I'm used to. You don't have to win your heat race to win a sprint car race. You got to win. You got to run so far up in your heat race to transfer to the A main, and then you got to win the A. So that's kind of what today is like. Is you don't have to win each round. We did. I mean, we won the first 2 rounds ourselves, but you don't have to. You just got to finish in the top 2 to get to the final, and then in the final you got to win the race to win it. So I like it. I mean, we can't get to Charlotte fast enough. If we raced at Charlotte tomorrow, it wouldn't be soon enough for me. So I'm excited that twice at Charlotte we get to run 4 wide. So I like the format. I know it's not traditional. I haven't been around long enough to get set in my ways yet. So I like things that create a little bit of chaos occasionally.
Tony, Crystal Clay Racing Refresh. To kind of piggyback off of that question, do you think that the result would have been the same today had it not been for that 4-wide setup?
I mean, theoretically, yes. I mean, we flat out won our first 2 quads, and then our car was fast enough to win the quad in the final. So yeah, I think we had a shot to win this thing outright today. I mean, the weather this weekend was an equalizer as well. I mean, the format's an equalizer for the drivers, but the weather is tricky. The teams that make big power, make big speed, this is not a track this weekend where you're going to make big speed. So for the teams that make that big power, they have to pull their cars way back to accommodate for what the track conditions were, and we're not to that stage yet, so we didn't have to pull back quite as far. So I feel like that made it a lot more equal for all of us, because nobody could just sit there and throw down and just throw up big numbers today. It made it a tuner's game, and our guys did a great job today doing that.
Okay, and one more question. I remember we were sitting here last year, and you just began in Top Fuel, and obviously the pressure from maybe fans might have been an immediate win, but you were focused on consistency and really kind of dialing it in. So I just want to know, where was the turning point? Because I feel like your win and at the end of the track told us a very different story.
I think what you saw at the top end was relief, because it's pressure for me, because it's me and what I've done in motorsports and my history and our path that we've taken. I mean, we never took a year to win a race in any kind of race car that we ever drove, that we've won races in. And to come here and like I said, after Leah almost wins a world championship, and then I get in the car and we're struggling, and the fans in the stands don't totally understand what it is. And it's, everything I drove before I got into NHRA, I was 70% of the equation, and the car and the crew were 30% of the equation. Over here, it's the opposite. Now I'm 30% of the equation, and that car and the team are that 70%. So when it's not going down the racetrack and it's got my name on the doors and on the car, they look and go, well, she almost won a world championship a year ago. He sucks. And we did suck last year, but I didn't suck. I mean, I finished 5th in reaction time average for the season. So, I mean, and you go ask Neil and Mike, they said I did a great job last year. But it doesn't show in the results, unfortunately. And the people in the stands that aren't just diehard drag race fans, they don't understand that. So they look at me and go, this guy's terrible. He needs to get it. I mean, I'm reading on social media, they need to put his wife back in the car because she did way better. And that, I mean, it's hard to argue with that when the results show that. But I think, we went to the pro race at Bradenton, and we made 14 runs in the 5 days we were down there. And it only made it down the track 3 times out of 14 runs. And they took the car back to Brownsburg and yard sailed it and changed everything. And then show up at Gainesville, and we had 2 days of testing. We had 1 washout on Saturday. We made a total of 10 runs that week, and 8 out of 10 runs that made it down the racetrack. And it was like a sportsman car that was consistent. So the work that they did, and a lot of that work came from the funny car team as well. So it's not just Mike and Neil, it's Phil Schuler and Mike Knudsen on the funny car side. That everybody just pitched in together. I mean, we're all helping each other. And so our motto at TSR is we're one team, all team, and that's truly what this win is about, is the effort of everybody, not just the top fuel guys, but our entire program working together to get the results. So it just makes you proud when you're at the top, and you're like, as much as it's a stress for me as an owner and the driver, but can you imagine what the stress is for the crew chiefs that are running me? That it's in their hands, and so when it's not going right, it's bad enough for me owning it, the stress I feel. Imagine the stress those guys have felt. So today, to sit there and go, finally, these guys got the monkey off their back, and to sit there and look at the time slip up there, I was a third off the line, and they won the race. That makes me happy because they won us the race. I won us the first 2, they won us the last one, and that's a team effort right there. But for those guys in particular, for Neil and Mike, I mean, they carry so much weight of having to run me. It's a pressure that not all the other teams have here. And it's hard for those guys. So just feeling relief for those guys versus ourselves more than anything is just great to finally put the whole package together.
Phil Burgess, National Dragster. To be fair, your 2024 season was a learning season for you, right? You learned how to pedal it, you learned how to leave.
I learned how to pedal a lot.
Yeah, you did.
We did that a lot.
Right. Coming into this year, I mean, you're in the mission final in Phoenix, runner-up 2 weeks ago in Pomona. Did you feel this was right around the corner?
I think it's hard for me to know where it was going to land, but I mean, I just wanted to see progress this year. Everybody goes, what's your expectations this season? I really didn't have any other than I just want to see the needle moving in the right direction and making progress. Like I said, Gainesville was a step in that direction, and it's like, man, that was great. So we go to Phoenix, and you're like, man, I hope we're on the same path we were at Gainesville, and Phoenix we were on the same path. I mean, lost in the second round, but had a consistent car through qualifying, made it down all 4 runs in qualifying. So go to Pomona, consistent car, and get to the finals. So you see that it's moving the right direction. I mean, the hard part with this is you don't always win the race even though you turn the wind light on. Sometimes the other team wins the race for you with misfortune. So, Doug spun the tires at Pomona. Sean had a hole out on the step. We got some lucky breaks there that helped us get to the final, and we just couldn't capitalize on it. I think that's what made it so disheartening. We went up against 3 giant teams the first 3 rounds and then couldn't capitalize on it. And Clay's no slouch by any means. Rick Ware's team does an awesome job. I mean, winning the U.S. Nationals last year, and their record speaks for itself. So there's no layups in it. It's just not there. But that was our best opportunity to win a race, and we stepped on it. And it threw up on itself, and we sat there and watched him blow up. And I pedaled it. He was so far out there and had so much car speed that even if I stayed in it when I got back in it, I wasn't going to run him down. And that's discipline on my side. That's the only thing I took away from the final round that I was proud of, is that I didn't just lose my mind and try to jump back in it and try to chase him down and make a mistake and cost us a motor or something. So even Clay came over after they got done with their photos, and he was done with his media session. He was walking back. He goes, "You're close. It's coming." And it takes someone like him and Steve Torrance and these guys, Doug Coletta, to tell you they see it because they've been around it long enough to know for me, it's like you think it's coming at some point, but you just don't know till it happens. But the good thing, like I said, is I was seeing the needle moving in the right direction, and that was the goal this year, is just to get us going down the right path. And eventually, hopefully, we would have a day where we put it all together, and today was that day.
Jared Jordan, KickingTheTires.net. So is this the fun you were talking about? When you reached the pinnacle of fun, you're going to continue. You knocked off your first win here. So now you got your top fuel win. This has got to be the start of something good.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. I mean, my whole life in motorsports, it seems like every new car that we want to race in, that first one was the hardest one to get. And it seems like once you get that first one, it's not like you do anything different, but it just seems like it relaxes everybody. And it just seems like the next one comes a little bit easier than it is trying to. I think you put so much pressure on winning that first one that you put yourself in a position to make mistakes. Where getting this first one out of the way, now we can go race, and we know we can do it. We've proven we can do it. Now we just got to execute it each week. But it takes that pressure off of the individuals that are working on the car and me as a driver. I mean, we get to just show up and race now.
Croc said a while ago, when you got your first win, he felt like y'all would both get wins that weekend. You climb up on the stage, he's there. He's the first to see you and talk to you on the top end. And then John Force comes up and talks to you and congratulates you. Those thoughts, I mean, what's that going through your mind when you're experiencing all that?
Yeah, it makes me think about when Austin and Thomas, his brother, asked us if they could bring their midget and work out of our shop, and I'm like, yeah, we'll make a space for you over here. And they brought the midget in there, and they had a blast doing it. And then Thomas came to work for us at Stewart Haas Racing on the NASCAR side. And when he left, I mean, I was devastated when he left. And when he told me what he was doing, it's hard to be mad at him, to get to race with his brother and his dad. And Austin and I are pretty good buddies. So to know that, that's something to bond for the two of us, that on our first win that he wins it as well. I mean, I'd love to. We were sitting right behind Matt, and I'm going, get down there, and it was smoke. I'm like, oh my God, no. And then I'm like, man, I hope this lane isn't bad, because I got to go down it next. So, but it's cool to see Austin win. I mean, to see the season that Austin had last year was unbelievable. I mean, for him and his family, that's a dream for anybody that's in motorsports and that has a family in motorsports, to be able to be at the pinnacle of that form of racing and dominate like they did the whole season last year was amazing. So, that's a cool thing. It's like I say, there's so many things that aren't even going to sink in tonight that are going to sink in as the week goes on and before we get to Charlotte. But, Austin being down there and being one of the first people to me was a pretty cool deal to have the history that we have together, and for him to be down there in that moment was pretty cool.
Evan Smith, National Dragster. Of all the disciplines that you've competed in, all the different types of cars, has anything prepared you for this? And if so, which discipline would give you the most maybe seat time or ability to jump into drag racing and drive a top fuel car?
God, none of it. I mean, oddly enough, literally 90 to 95% of how I made my living driving race cars doesn't even apply over here. The only time it really applies is when both cars in both lanes got to pedal it. That's when my history and the stuff that I was good at back in the day of keeping the tire hooked up underneath me, that's where that comes into play. But it's just so different. It's such a different discipline over here. And from the time the light hits till you get to the line, the driving the car part has been the easiest part for me. It's been all the procedures and the staging and the mindset that you have to have when you get in the car, and the mindset when you start the car to make the run. It's all those things that we never think about in any other form of motorsports. Those are the things that are super important over here, and putting the whole run together, the cadence of it, knowing how much fuel we burn, how much the fuel weighs. If you change any of those variables very far, it's going to directly alter the way that car performs down the racetrack. Shoot, when we push off for a sprint car race, we're not thinking about that. When we pulled off pit road in a cup car or Indy car, we don't think about that. We're sitting thinking, well, we're going to know in about 5 laps what our balance is. You don't even get to figure out what your balance is. It's over before you figure it out. You just have to react to it here. So it's even when I ran the alcohol car, I don't think I really wrapped my brain totally around what encompassed all of drag racing from a driver's side. I think about a third of the way through the season last year, the reality hit of what all it entails and where I fit in that equation. I think that's the thing that really was something that was eye-opening for me as a driver.
Tom Zaleski, Iron County Today. I'm going to give you an analogy here that kind of, if you can deal with it as you wish, but Rory McIlroy won the Masters today and broke his career Grand Slam, got his career Grand Slam at long last after 11 tries. How did this win feel for you today? Is it relatable in that respect?
Rory's won a lot of big tournaments, though. You know, this is, and we have too in different forms of motorsports, but not here. I mean, you know, we had a great year with the alcohol car with the McPhillips family 2 years ago, and but to win at this level in a top fuel car, I mean, it's hard to explain. Like I said, every other form of motorsports I ran, I had success pretty quick, and this is one that you can wish it, you can't buy wins here. This is all about people. It's all about packages, and it's that way in life and every other form of motorsports. It's about the people. But at least when that car went on to the racetrack, I was the one that was ultimately going to dictate the outcome of that race car. Here, it's so much on the crew chiefs and the tuners that drivers still have a lot to do. They still have to leave on time. They still have to keep it in the groove. They have to be ready to catch the car at any moment. But there's nothing I can do to make this car go faster when I'm driving it. It's going to run what it's going to run. When I hit that gas pedal, it's literally just going to run what it's going to run. I cannot make it go faster. There's 12 ways I can screw the run up, but there's 0 ways that I can make it go faster. And I think that's one of the hardest things from a driver's perspective, from the forms of motorsports that I've been a part of in the past. That was one of the hardest things for me to come to terms with, is that I can't do anything to make it better.
Just the in golf, you can make all kinds of crazy adjustments, but with the car, it's just you get the car and
yeah, I mean,
to the point.
You got to focus on that tree. I mean, you got to focus on reaction times. And like I said, 5th last year, I was extremely happy with that. But at the same time, I'm never one to go, well, you know what, 5th's good enough. And so you want to sit there, you want to catch the Justin Ashleys and the Antron Browns and the Doug Colettas and the Sean Langdons. Those are the 4 guys that were in front of me all year. And those are the guys that I want to, it's going to take a lot of time to catch those guys. I mean, they're craftsmen. I mean, they perfect their craft. And Sean Langdon, probably more than anybody, knows this sport probably better than anybody on this property. Sean does. But to be as good as those guys, and if you're going to beat them, you've got to find a way to be as good as those guys. And so to sit there and be at 5th and go, yeah, that was great, but if you're going to beat them on a regular basis, you've got to figure out how to beat them on the tree too. You can't rely on the car to do the work for you. So today was a team effort. I mean, we did our job the first 2 rounds and got us going. Thank God Neil and Mike bailed me out in the final here. And, we didn't have a terrible light, but it wasn't a great light either. And it wasn't one that I'm proud of, but that truly encompasses the team atmosphere. And, I think this, like I said, as much as I'd like to say I sat there and cut a 40 or a 50 for the final, I'm almost happy that we cut an 82 and that the car won us the race, because Neil and Mike have deserved that, to have that pressure for over a year now and have to sit there and carry that weight every week. I mean, they won us this race today.
Hi, so obviously your first top fuel win is here in Vegas. What does it mean to you to not only be racing in Vegas, but to be winning here?
I don't care where we win at. We can win at the furthest north tip of Alaska for all I care, and it means something. Every win, everywhere you go, means something. But a year ago, or 2 years ago when we were here, I didn't even think about it until somebody told me. I mean, we have literally won at every racetrack on this property. And, probably Kyle Busch is probably the only guy that can come close to that. And Vegas is, I had the biggest crash in my entire career right across the street here in an Indy car in '96. And I was out for a long time, and it was a long recovery. But to sit there and do what we did here 2 years ago and then come back today and 2 years later and win the same event 2 years later in a top fuel car, I mean, that means a lot to me. So I think when everybody goes, what's your favorite track you go to? Every car that I ever ran, it seems like the first place I won my first race at in each of those cars was my favorite track for some reason. So it's hard to not sit there and go, when Vegas comes around on the schedule, I look forward to it. So it's what's not to like about Vegas, unless you lose your ass and your home and your wife or something, then you say, kiss my ass, Vegas. But, this is just a place that we've always enjoyed. SMI properties. I mean, I've known Marcus Smith and Bruton Smith forever, and they're great people. They care about motorsports, and and it shows in the details they put into their facilities. So you know when you come here, you know when you go to Charlotte, Bristol, you go to places like that, I mean, you know they care about what they do. So, you know, Vegas is a track that, whether it's any of these 4 tracks that are here, I mean, they put a ton of effort into it and make it nice. So when you come to Vegas and you know you're going to come to this property, you know you're coming to a first-class facility.
Tony, Joe Costello, WFO Radio. You've worked very hard for the sport of drag racing since you got involved. Media tours, going on shows, promoting drag racing, talking about your newfound love and passion for the sport. But that was just like as a driver. Now we are going to NASCAR Country, ZMAX Dragway. As a race winner, you are a Top Fuel winner. I assume that everybody over there has been very supportive of this endeavor. But now to go there into Charlotte as a Top Fuel winner, like, what about that? How great is that, and what do you expect to hear from your friends? And the 1,000th
Really?
Top Fuel race, and you're going there as the most recent
Are you sure this
Top
race
Fuel winner.
wasn't the 1,000th race? The fun thing is, I mean, I remember when I tested Leah's car, and it was I think it was the 10th run I'd made in a Top Fuel car. Kyle Larson was there, and Leah threw him to the wolves. Unfortunately, she put him clear up where the starter is on the line. And I still have the video where we made the hit, made the run. I actually red lit because I was so excited he was there to watch. But I red lit, made a good run, and you see him turn around and he's shaking his head. And Leah goes, "You want to drive one of these?" He's like, "Hell no." And of all people, Clint Boyer, one of the craziest guys I've ever met in my life, aside from Travis Pastrana, thinks I'm absolutely insane driving one of these. So to be able to go back to where I've got a really deep-rooted history in the state of North Carolina and at least go as the previous race winner is something that I feel like is going to be a great feeling when we get back there. We've got a lot of our NASCAR friends that are going to come hang out for the weekend, and I think it's going to feel way, way, way different. I didn't even think about that till you mentioned it. That's awesome. It's going to make going to Charlotte that much better when we go, because it's not going to be, are you ever going to win one of these things? To, yeah, we just won the last one, and we got a shot to do it again, hopefully.
Go celebrate.
Yeah, it's going to be a short one tonight, but it's. I have a feeling it's going to be quantity, not quality tonight. So,
Congratulations, Tony. You're a Top Fuel winner here in
thank
Vegas.
you guys, appreciate it.
Best reaction time is Matt Latino at 0:18. Look at this. This is a classic final round, a sprint to the finish line stripe. And the win light is Dallas Glenn on a hole shot. 6:64.9 at 206 miles per hour. Dallas Glenn gets it done. Matt Hartford comes in second at 6:63.8. Dallas Glenn trying to double up here this weekend. You had the performance that round. You had the entire quad covered by 6/100ths of a second. Where does that performance come from?
We didn't really make that good run because of my mistake on the last one. So that was a really nice run. We've been picking away at it the whole weekend. We've been knocking on the doorstep, and I think we just laid a pretty good one down there. Greg still definitely got the car to beat, so I'm going to have to step it up, but I think we got something for him in the final.
All right, joining us here in the media center at the Strip at Las Vegas Motor Speedway is your winner of the NHRA 4-White Nationals in Pro Stock, Dallas Glenn, who won on a hole shot in the final round with a run of 6.649 at 206 miles an hour, 0:30 reaction time. His second win of the season, third Vegas win. Vegas continues to be very good to you. A great weekend for you. You win the Mission Challenge yesterday. You get the victory today. You've been in every final this season, 15th career win, on and on we go. But just take us through today, and how thrilled are you to end this with a victory?
Definitely really thrilled. Today was a very interesting day. I almost completely blew it first round. I was staging, and when I fired the car up, my nose started to bleed. So I was dealing with that inside the car. That was an issue. You know, being in the desert here for like 3 weeks, I'm a little dried out.
Right.
And then somehow, I don't know what I was looking at, but I didn't see lane 2 stage, and just didn't go onto the 2-step until like right before the tree came down, and I was way late, just dead late, and got lucky enough with the horsepower to get the win. Still made a decent run. Going to second round, and the clutch pedal felt weird on my foot when I went onto the 2-step, and kind of overcompensated there. And then I go into the final, and then made sure that I held it down, and probably held it down a little too hard. And that's Greg definitely was on his way to earning his next one until the luck streak ended for him. but you know, it's a good day. The car's working great. I didn't do too bad, but you know, at the end, you only got to do good enough.
Right. Absolutely. Bobby.
So was this a little nosebleed, or did you like take your helmet off and look like somebody tried to murder you?
No, it was just a little one, but it was enough to be a little distracting, you know. Just a little one. I was just trying to keep it from running down my face inside the helmet.
This is as you were getting ready for the run?
It was actually when I fired the car up.
Oh boy.
So as soon as I got back to the pit, I took care of that while I was doing the clutch. So yeah, it was a little interesting. So it definitely made second round a little less stressful.
Once the health problems are gone, hey.
That's a first for me.
Yes.
So what changes will you make going into the next 4-wide race?
I don't think I mean, obviously we're going to make, you know, some small changes going from the altitude here at Vegas to, you know, Charlotte at home. One thing that will be nice is I'll get to sleep in my own bed every night and cuddle up next to my wife and my dog. But no, I mean, the 4-wide, you just kind of go up there and you need to make sure that you just, you know, try to stay focused through all the chaos. Having 3 or 4 people all stage at the same time is very, very distracting, and it definitely catches you off guard. So you definitely have to stay focused through everything and just try to manage the chaos as best you can until you get to the final, and then you can kind of just throw the kitchen sink at it.
Classically in Pro Stock, going in second is good because you kind of know when you can mat it and you're ready for it. Is it just too risky to hang out there and go in last?
Yeah, you know, if somebody else also wants to go in last, you know, at the same time, it's as soon as everybody's pre-stage, I try to get in first. But you know, if everybody has the same idea, then you know, well, then that's how you get 3 people coming in at the same time. But you know, I don't really, I tend to be a little bit of a slow stager because I want to be very careful getting in shallow. I want to try to get as much ET as I can and you know, not accidentally go red or anything like that. So I try to be very careful, so I always try to start early because I'm a little bit slow at it. And going in last is totally fine, but it's too risky with this many people. You know, if you look at the first quad of first round, you know, one guy took a little bit too long, and then it caught everybody off guard. So you know, you need to be ready for that as well.
To that end, 3/10 on the ET in that final. That okay, or is that potential, or did that leave you worried a little bit?
The
3/10 on your ET off the line in the final.
The 300s?
300s.
Oh yeah, being 30 on the tree. Yeah, I'm not too worried about that. You know, I knew I probably just overcompensated a little too much from the second round, and I was good, you know, all day yesterday and decent through qualifying. And you know, even though it's not as good as I wanted it to be, you know, 30, it's still not a terrible light. So you know, I'll go into Charlotte, try to just make a few adjustments, stay relaxed, stay light, and just try to hit it as best I can every time.
Dallas, after such a phenomenal year last year and then to come in this year so strong, I want to ask you a question about your past. Was Pro Stock where you were always going when you were a kid? Were you a Pro Stock fan? If so, were you a huge Pro Stock fan? And who would have been your favorite drivers? Who did you follow?
Oh yeah, I always wanted to run Pro Stock through the whole time I was, you know, running bracket races and running stock eliminator. It's interestingly enough, there was a local guy who was working on Warren Johnson's team, and I had been friends with him from the bracket racing days when he got hired at Warren. So I was always, every time I'd go to a national event running stock, I would always go and hang out with him and talk with him and talk with Warren a bunch. And you know, obviously it's hard to deny, you know, the KB Racing back then, Greg Anderson, Jason Line, you know, how fast and dominant they are. And, you know, Jason's a fellow stalker racer too. So, you know, it's kind of look up to a lot of them. And I would pretty much just bounce from pit to pit and try to talk with everybody. And then thankfully enough, I was able to get hired on a KB Racing and, you know, just kind of learn as much as I can, and then the rest is history.
Dallas, we talked about this before we started, but you win the 1,000th year, a cool Wally at that. You get the silver Wally here. I mean, is it cool to kind of enjoy those kind of milestones along the way here? You know, 15 wins already in your career and 2 very kind of special ones.
Yeah, you know, like you know, the 1,000th NHRA race with the special Wally. You know, you can look at that one. I think I have that one sitting in the middle of the trophy shelf. It's one that's a little special. I mean, obviously the first one's going to be, a special one, because the first one's always the hardest. But to get these kind of cool little trophies and the extra things is, it's a little added bonus. You can look at that one and go, I did that. That's pretty special.
Absolutely. In the media center, we were having a discussion about how forward kind of screws up stats. And traditionally, if a driver finishes third or fourth, they're declared a semifinalist. But in your eyes, when they reach that final quarter, are they in a final round?
I've always believed that it's no. If your light doesn't come on for either blinking or solid, then to me it's not a final. If you don't get final round points and final round money, then it's not a final. That's just by the driver's opinion here. It is the technically final round, but to me, if you don't finish first or second, then it's a semi.
Dallas Glenn, Joe Costello, WFO Radio. Question: Elite Motorsports in a valley. They'll tell you right now they're doing a lot of testing. So with this regular season championship, and you and Greg having won all the races, and you're kind of his protege in a team car, I'll be very honest, how do we make this sizzle? Like the rivalry between you and Greg. Like, how do we hype this up so it's not just like, the KB guys, Greg and Dallas back and forth. Like, I know you guys talk trash to each other off the air. How do we bring that to the public and show the world, like, hey man, like Dallas Glenn is really going at Greg Anderson and vice versa. I've heard him say very harsh things about you losing last year in the World Championship. He said on the golf course next day, tell that story. He doesn't get to win anything. So can you help us along a little bit with that situation?
Oh yeah, no, especially in the pits, him and I are. I mean, we both know that we're going for each other's throats. I mean, if you look, even when I was leaving the Too Fast Too Tasty interview here, he was coming in for his #1 qualifier interview, and he punches me in the gut. About dislocates a rib. So I'm sure that wasn't his intention, but I don't think he would have been disappointed if he did. Would have been another little distraction for me. But we're both competitors. Even though we're teammates, we both want to win. That's why we come out. This is what we're passionate about. This is why we spend all the waking hours in the shop every single day, 7 days a week. So we each want to win, and I know Greg is probably really upset that something went wrong on his car, because I feel like he probably would have won if that not been the case, because his car is just insane right now. He's driving really well. He's 21 on the tree there in the final, but in the end, everything's got to come together, and this is why we don't race on paper. But as far as elite, being in the valley, we've been there. I've been there, and they're smart people. They're going to get it. And we just need to try to, keep going as much as we can and ride the wave as long as we can. I'm sure when, countdown time comes, it's going to be a battle between everybody. But, for right now, there hasn't been a end of the season, regular season championship bonus. And I've been the regular season champion for 2 years in a row. And I'm not about to let Greg take it from me on the one time that they pay.
Oh, that's a good finish. There you go. We'll talk there. Thanks a lot, Dallas. Congratulations on your 4-wide win here in Vegas.
Thank you.
Finish line stripe. Austin Prock drives his way down to a 4.009 at 316 miles an hour, and Prock is back in the winner's circle. The second place finisher is Paul Lee at 4.042, 311. That moment in time we have expected all season long has come to fruition in Las Vegas.
Well, the title defense for Austin Prock is back in full effect. It's been a struggle early for you in the year, and you've wore those emotions on your shoulder. The consistency that you guys have searched for, it looks like you guys have finally found it. Congratulations.
Well, man, we're getting close, that's for sure. This Prock Rocket ain't perfect yet, but it's heading in the right direction, and that's what we need to be proud about right now. That was an ugly win, but like I said earlier this morning, if they were ugly all day but the win light was coming on, I didn't give a crap. So really proud of this John Force Racing team. I love having John Force out at the racetrack. He just gasses you up every time you get in one of these, and he told me he was proud of me this week, and that means a lot. So really proud to drive this Cornwell Tools Chevrolet SS with HendrickCars.com, Power Solar, Graham Rahal Performance GRP. Having that on board is just so cool. Hopefully Graham's doing good in his race, and hopefully Kyle Larson can get a dub too. Woo!
All right, joining us here in the media center at Las Vegas, the Strip at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, is your funny car winner at the 25th Annual NHRA 4-Wide Nationals, Austin Prock, who went 4.009 at 316 miles an hour. to pick up his first win of the season, second straight in Las Vegas, 13th career win. And I know coming off a championship, you guys made some major changes. 3 races isn't that long of a drought, but I'm sure it felt like it. But to come back and have a race weekend like this after some early struggles, you guys dominated semis and finals. How good does this one feel?
It feels really good, man. You know, coming off the championship and then going to Bradenton for our, season test and the match race we do down there, and going to the final rounds and having a parts failure that kept us from holding the Wally, and then opening up in Gainesville, and just wasn't a great weekend. And, we've just struggled in Pomona, had a good weekend in Phoenix, but just couldn't put it all together. And it's like, man, you just want to hold one of these again. Like I said all last year, you got to celebrate these things like you're never going to win one again, because you don't know how long it's going to take. And we made a really nice run Q4, kind of got our stuff on the right track, and go up there for E1 and, essentially got lucky, but we were better than everybody else in the other lanes, and then made an outstanding run in the semis. And I figured we'd just go up there and repeat that. And we had a little bit of misfortune on thrashing in the pits, made a few mistakes, and, ended up with the result that we had. But once again, it was good enough than everybody else. So really proud of this win. It feels great to hold another one of these, especially the 25th anniversary. I remember when I was 25. I'm starting to get old now. But yeah, just an outstanding weekend for the team. We battled a lot of adversity all year long, and everyone just kept their heads down and stayed strong, and just keep picking at it. And when we fired this thing up in the finals, I could see on my dad's face something was wrong. And I was like, I better Cheeto chop the tree, because that's our only hope. And got a hold of it pretty good, and it was enough to win.
So your brother alluded on the starting line that you guys got away with one.
For sure.
What happened that equated to a got away with one?
We had a brain fart, essentially, setting the mags, fired it up in the pits, and they were off from being perfect, and we wanted to go one way with the mags, and they accidentally went the other way. So then they were really off. But she hung on. I think it had like 3 or 4 cylinders out down track, because that thing was doing anything but going straight. It left nice, and obviously slow, because all the ignition isn't set right. But it was good enough to win, and that's the only. I said this morning after E1, I said, if they're all ugly like this, but that blinking light's on, I don't care. As long as we're better than everybody else in the other lanes, and that's the name of drag racing. You don't have to be perfect all the time. You just got to be better than everyone else.
And a second question. In NFL circles, they always say that the good teams find a way to win, even on ugly days.
Yep.
Are you more of a believer of that than ever before?
I believe our team is great. We haven't had the success that we had last year, but we're still the same team, excluding one guy, and we got a young kid in there that shows a lot of potential. So, to get a win it's his first funny car win. To get a win for him and this whole Cornwall Tools team is really special. I think Kyle Larson won tonight, if my source was correct. So yeah, Mr. H, he doubled up today, and that's really special for all our partners. Sam. Yeah. Yeah. I got a brain fart. I call him Long Sam.
So obviously these first 3 races weren't the Procs forgot how to win by any chance. It was because your dad wanted to find the further edge of the envelope. Can you talk about how you deal with that as a driver, knowing that the end will justify the means, but in the meantime you've got to not get the wins that you were used to getting last year?
Yeah, I mean, we expected, we always expect to show up and win. Everyone always asks, what are your expectations? Well, we want to go set low ET every round, and we want to win every race. So when we're not doing that, we're trying to get to that point, and we've been far from that. Like I said, our race car's been really fast and really quick and fast as it was last year, or even quicker and faster. Just that consistency that we've been missing, and he's been pulling his hair out over it. All of us have. It's hard to keep your head up when things aren't going right, especially when your expectations are so high. So for all of us to come together, and the first 3 qualifying runs, they weren't satisfying for us. Q4 showed a little bit of hope, and we just kept getting better and better. It's like E1, it was trucking right down there. But you sit around up there. We had that delay. The track got worse. It was really nasty down track, and that sure was fun to drive, though. That thing spun the tires at 500 feet, and I got to leg 13,000 horsepower black tracking for 500 feet. That was, you guys think doing a burnout in your street Camaro is cool. Doing a black track in a Chevrolet SS is even cooler with 13,000 horsepower. Yeah, it looked good for a while till it dropped cylinders, and it was kind of nasty.
Jerry Jordan kicking the tires flat in that. Congratulations on your win. But you were at the top end when Tony won. What was his reaction getting out of the car? What do you, and you know, his first win in Top Fuel?
That was pretty cool. I think I was the first person he saw, and you know, one of the reasons I'm at the point in my career is because of Tony Stewart. He gave me an opportunity when I was, you know, a lot younger than I am now, and allowed me to race out of his race shop at Tony Stewart Racing in Brownsburg, and got to race my midget out of there, and you know, learn from some of the greats in the sport. You know, Jimmy Carr and Ricky Warner and Michael Lewis. You know, the names go on and on. Marty's out here. He works for Hoosier now, so it was cool to have him here. But I always had a gut feeling that when Tony won his first Top Fuel win, we were going to double up with him. So it was kind of cool to see that come true. Really proud of his team. You know, Tony, he's outstanding in anything that he gets in, and all he needed was, you know, a race car close enough to win, and he could make up the rest. And you know, he had a good race car under him today. Yeah. Force. He was talking about that last year, early in the spring, and I don't know, maybe one day it'll happen.
One more. What session was the issue that you were having trying to get down track? Which elimination run?
It started in Gainesville, and it's been ongoing since.
So it has never stopped. Oh, man, but bottom line, hey, you won this.
Yeah, no, they're working hard at it, and they're, you know, these race cars are very difficult to manage going up and down the racetracks, and you know, when you're struggling with your setup, and then you're going from track to track, conditions to different conditions, it's really hard to pinpoint the problem, and for them to work through it today and finally. You know, we got to a final round and got the job done. That was really special.
Austin, you know, as the champion, we had that marquee matchup this morning. We get you guys up there. Freiberger's on the mic, and he said that
I want to know who picked that, because there was like 4 marquee matchups this
it was very tough. You want to know why I picked that? We have an algorithm because you're the champ, and champ's discretion, right? When we can get the champ on the stage to have a moment, why not?
Yeah,
and
I appreciate
the
that.
Tobler thing is also a byproduct.
Yeah.
But in terms of building the rivalries in the sport, like Freiberger said, he's been mentioning the Beckman car and trying to get a rise out of you a little bit, and you don't want to think about the other cars. You want to think about your car. But are you able to totally do that, not think about Paul Lee emerging and Caps, what he's going on, and as we try to create rivalries and make interesting storylines, you know, how do you feel about all of that?
Yeah, I mean, there should be rivals in the sport, and I believe that we will have rivals in the sport, and there's probably people that don't like me out here, and there's probably people I don't like out here. But when I'm racing, you go up there, and I learned this last year, is you go up there and you function with no emotion. You know, a rivalry is an emotional, you know, connection, essentially. So for me, it's the easiest to just go up there and race myself and go up there and try and do the best job I can do every time. It doesn't matter what they do. You know, all I'm worried about is me going up there and doing the same job every time and trying to be within a 60-40 range on the tree. And if I can do that, I'm happy with that, because I know this Proc Rocket underneath me, it can carry that. You know, if we get picked off and I race like that, you know, out here, it's like, well, we had a good package, you know, but, you know, you're not going to get beat very often doing that. So Lanny McLizzy taught me that last year halfway through the season, and I'm riding with it. I love it. You know, it just keeps it simple, and that's, you know, this. I said this last year. This sport is it's a very few simple tasks. It takes professionals to do it, but in the driver's seat, I have a few things to do before I stand on the gas, and I need to be in the most perfect, clear mindset that I can possibly be. And when I stand on the gas, I got to react to what it does. You know, these things want to do anything but go straight down the track, but if you're thinking about what it's going to do when you stand on the gas, you're going to make a mistake. You guys saw me in Q2. I almost crashed that thing. You know, I've never looked like that in my life, but I rolled up there and I felt like I was a little bit aimed right, more than normal, and this thing left, and we were trying some things, trying to sort this crock rocket out, and it left, and it was ugly. And me, I don't lift, you know, until I need to lift. And I was hanging on for dear life. I've made runs like that, and it's hooked up and gone right down the track, and then you're a hero. But when you do that and you hang on to it too long, and then the parachutes are pointing at the wall and the headlights are on the Chevrolet SS are pointing at the center line, you kind of look goofy. But, you know, you live and you learn, and that was the first time that thing got away from me out of how many runs have I made in this car. So I learned from it and, you know, keep doing the same thing.
Austin, congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
12.
Yeah. I had this thing sideways a few times today down track, for sure, first round. Yeah.
Austin, thanks a lot. Congratulations on
Cool.
everyone today.
Thank you.